Yo, what's up, guys? This is Pat from Real Intentions, and today we have a special guest here, Markus Wolf from Ultimate Man Project. And yeah, we met each other in Barcelona, right? I think last year in summer, very quickly.
Exactly. Yeah, it's about a year ago.
Yeah, and now I was like, let's get him on the channel. And yeah, man, nice to have you. We will talk about, of course, game and questions guys asked in the group. And hope to answer all the questions in depth. And yeah, man.
Perfect. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, just for the first question I have for you is like, what? How was your beginning? How was the beginning of your journey? And who were, you would say, your biggest influences and inspirations on this journey?
Yeah, I'd say my journey was probably a little bit different to most guys that are in game or most coaches, in the fact that when I started going out, it wasn't even to game, right? So essentially I had a relationship. I was in it for like 5-6 years. She broke up with me. And honestly, I was just fucking lonely. And so I just started going out like to bars just to fucking hang out, just to like sit around and have a drink and whatnot. And so for me, it didn't even start out as like game. I didn't go out thinking, oh, I'm going to try like fuck a bunch of girls. Like I didn't even really know the community existed. Like I'd read the book, The Game by like Neil Strauss back in the day. Yeah, I think it's everyone kind of knows that. But I didn't know there was like an active community where I was in Sydney at the time. So I was literally just, man, going out. And eventually I built up the courage to like speak to a couple of girls. And it wasn't until I actually got approached by a guy and he was like, oh man, are you gaming? And I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is. Like, I don't know, I'm here, I'll talk to some girls, whatever. And so that was kind of my first introduction into game. And so he was like an RSD guy. And essentially like I started like winging with him, going out with him. And I developed everything kind of just through like a really inefficient trial and error over a couple of years. Like I would just go out every single fucking night. And then if something worked, I kept doing it. If it didn't work, I stopped doing it. And so I didn't really have too many like influences at the time. It was mainly just the guys I was gaming with. Maybe they're like RSD or mystery kind of based. But yeah, for me, it was mostly just trial and error.
Yeah, for me as well, like similar, very similar. But there was like either guys coming from a relationship or guys who never had a relationship. I was on the other spectrum. Never had a girl in my life. And yeah, I was always like, I don't know, I never had like as well, like when I reached a certain age, didn't have friends, you know, I was mobbed in school. I was, basically didn't have the best life there, you know, and people used to say like, oh, in school you have your best life, afterwards the really hard times will come. And I was thinking like, how the fuck people say that I'll have a good life, and when later it will be even worse. I don't want to even imagine it. And I was really like suicidal thoughts. I had suicidal thoughts, and it was really it was something really not the best thing. And I started all by myself. You know, I Googled some forums. First of all, no, the first thing was, I remember from the school, there was a girl who kind of approached me. I got into talk, and I was like, oh, fuck, I have my date in like 1 week. Back in the days, you know, it was like, I'm 32 years old. So back in the days, it was like pretty much kind of set. When you said, hey, let's go for a drink in 1 week, then it was pretty much set. You know, the girls didn't flake like that hard back in the days. And I was preparing myself, you know, I had my clothes ready for like in 7 days, the underwear, the jeans, the t-shirt, everything. And I was like Googling, I was like, okay, I think I put in questions to ask a girl or something.
Yeah.
And then was like 150 questions to ask a girl. I printed it out, started to study it. I was like, okay, this question is good. This question comes at the second date. This is like too much. This comes at the third date. And I was like building this like kind of like a questionnaire tree. And I was starting to answer these questions. Okay, from a girl's perspective, you know, like basically a monologue of when she responds this, then I'm going with this. When she responds this, and I'm going with that, etc., etc. And on the date, I had it, of course, with me. You know, I had it in my back pocket. I remember the first like 10 questions or something. But then, of course, when you're sitting with a beautiful girl, you remember half only of this shit. And it was just bombarding question after question. She responded. I was like, yeah. And then at one point, I was like, fuck, man, I don't know what to ask next. I don't have any clue anymore. So I excused myself to the toilet. I told her, and this was like back in the days, like cinema dates, typical cinema dates. You know, before we went to the cinema, we had like a drink.
Yeah, bro.
And I went to the toilet. And then I again like pulled out this big fat paper. Everybody looked at me like, "What the fuck?" No, go ahead, man. Go ahead. I'm just reading some things. Went back and like, yeah, this was my beginning, kind of.
How old were you at this time when you started out?
I cannot really tell you like kind of like age or a year, because it always was kind of yeah. At that age with this date, I was like 17,
18.
That's
super young. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I had like before as well, like yeah. When I got into game, like really game, because I didn't know what it is, you know, afterwards, like after high school degree and stuff, and started with online in Hungary. There was like it was like similar to Tinder, but it wasn't Tinder. And there as well, I went to my uncle because I was living at my grandma for a half year after my high school degree, and she didn't have any Wi-Fi, no internet, you know. So I went to my uncle, crossed the street, wrote on the computer with girls. Then I had no smartphone. Then I went back. Girls responded the next day. Number closed. I gave them the number of my grandma, who had like a big fucking phone, you know, like these old phones. So no text game at all. I was hitting them up, like calling them. Yeah, let's meet up there and there at this time. And they were there, you know.
That's hilarious. Calling from your grandma's phone. Let's go.
Yeah, this is how it started.
I remember back in the day.
Bullying in Hungary, it was like, yeah, people living there, you know, with their families, as similar as we talked about that your dad is Croatian. More like in Eastern Europe, you know, they don't have their own rooms even, or they don't live alone at all. They live with a family. She lived with her brother and stuff. So I lost my virginity in staircases.
In a staircase?
Yeah.
Dude, that's wild. What age did you lose your virginity? How long ago was that?
18.
18, okay. Yeah.
18 and a half.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, back in the day, it's so funny how when I started out too, it was very much what I consider now like relationship focused, the way I was like running dates, which was like, the movie cinemas or dinner. And it was just asking like a bunch of like getting to know you questions that were probably like super boring and like unemotive. But I was the same. I do remember at one point I did have a piece of paper with like shit written down on it. So yeah, I think we've all been there. That's for sure.
No, nobody started as retarded as me, probably. Really, it's like.
But I mean, yeah, I think we all look. There are some guys. You mentioned your like upbringing. It didn't sound like you were that like kind of pro-social, and I think with some guys that are around like a bunch of women, maybe they're like a lot of sisters, or they go through a school and like a super social. I think for them, interacting with women is a lot more intuitive, and I guess what we'd consider like naturals. Even with them, I think like a lot of them suck with women. Like they seem very good because you watch them, they kind of build attraction and they're comfortable, but they often don't know how to move it forward. But I think with most guys, honestly, like, or at least a lot of my students, a lot of guys just don't have that experience. You don't grow up around women a lot of the time, and we all suck, right? We all came from that place at different levels, right? But we all came from that place where we have no idea what the fuck we're doing on dates. We have no idea what to do with text game. We have no idea what to do when you have a girl in front of you at the club.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's really normal. And that's why it's good to have like a
strategy. But I wanted to dig actually deeper a bit, more personal question, because as we talked about, like females around you and stuff. Do you have siblings?
Yeah, bro. I got 3 brothers and a sister. So I've got a big family.
Yeah, that's good, because I did an opinion poll the last time, and where I asked the guys on a scale from 1 to 5, if having a sister did make you understand female psychology better, and what would you say, like on a scale from 1 to 5? 1, absolute bullshit, not true at all, and 5, yeah, totally true.
I would say 6. Totally true. I think it's massive. Like, not even necessary. It doesn't have to be like a family or a sister, because I'm sure there's some people out there that probably have a sister they're not close with and they don't interact with, and it probably just shit all for them. But I think having like close females in your life, especially around the same age. So maybe if your sister's like fucking 10 years younger than you, it's not going to help. But I think like having females around you at a similar age is very beneficial in understanding women growing up, right? I think that's massive. So I think actually, if I'm going to think about it honestly, having peers like school friends or, you know, work friends or whatever when you're young that are female is probably going to be more beneficial than a sister, I'd say. But having that like female influence around you yeah, I mean, that trumps it a lot. Like, it's going to help you interact with women 10 times better otherwise.
Because that was as well my kind of theory, because I have only a brother, I don't have a sister, I don't even have female cousins, so not really. And for us, I think for those guys like me, women our age were always like this big, I don't know, this unicorn somehow, you know, this different creatures, and you didn't know like how should I interact with them, or what should I say, and like mysterious creatures in total, you know, and
Yeah, no, I agree. And so you're right, having like a sister that you can, I'd actually be curious. I'd even say the guys that have sisters around their age probably end up interacting with women in school and work, as I was saying, a lot more than others for that exact same reason. That would be my guess or my theory. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. And another question, as long as you're longer in game now and you're coaching and for years now, what would you say? Is there anything you said like back in the days, made a statement, or maybe thing you taught, teaching of yours, you wouldn't go 100% anymore at this point now, or you would say like, I wouldn't, I'm totally totally changed, or you wouldn't really 100% agree anymore? Is there something?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think by the time I started, I'd been gaming myself for so long that it was at a really good level where I kind of solidified all my beliefs. So that trial and error was done over years, like gaming by myself. So at that point, there were probably a lot of things that I thought would work and didn't, and vice versa. And then I did like coaching for a year, just free. Like I was just coaching for free, friends, like other people's clients, whoever it was. And that also helped me solidify it. Since I started coaching, I think most of what I'm teaching is probably very similar. You might be able to find things that I've said before that I might disagree with now, but most of it's similar. I think like the evolvement that has happened over the years is probably just been how much emphasis I put on certain things. So for example, like a long time ago, I'd say like sexualizing matters. Now I probably put more of an emphasis on it. I'd say that like logical objection handling, I put a huge emphasis on that before. I'd say having more value as you do that is probably like a small change you make. Now, I'd probably focus a little bit more on the nuances of the girl herself and my client, or like me, myself, because I think that makes a massive difference, which I was probably giving more general advice back in the years, whereas now it's probably going to be a lot more specific to, okay, you're this archetype, your game is this archetype, this is why I think you should do A, B, and C, for example. So I think like there probably hasn't been any massive like fundamental changes in my beliefs or what I teach, but there's probably a lot of like nuances and it's sort of like tiny advanced changes that have developed over the years, I'd say.
Okay, so you would say like the small wheels only, which made like the big wheel was running anyway, like the fundamentals were there. It was like only the small wheels, some adjustments.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like since I've been coaching. If you looked at my game when I first started, it's probably very different than it is now. I think I put too much of an emphasis on what I was saying when I first started. So the example of like having that sheet of paper, right? On that sheet of paper, I never had in there, oh, make sure you're like emotionally spiking, or make sure you ask this question with curiosity. It was focused on just like what I should say and how I should get through it. And then obviously that developed and changed over time. But yeah, in terms of my coaching, I think it's family the same. Yeah. What about yourself? Do you think you've changed a lot in your principles of what you're teaching, or is it more just the small stuff?
No, as well, like small adjustments. Like it depends. Like with the involvement, you know, I was in a phase where I did basically like really like my game was really heavily focused on like push and pull, you know, like really spiking emotions. I mean, as we talked about, I would say I was only shy. That's it. But I was never weird or socially awkward and stuff. Like I was pretty good like reading social dynamics, having the social awareness and high level of empathy and social intelligence. And that was like as well good enough to, when I read something on the internet or on a book, to like pretty much change it right away. I was like, okay, black fingernails doesn't run with me, you know, and wearing a pink scarf and shit. So I'm dismissing it. Sorry. It's like, and I was rewriting and creating my own stuff. It's always hard because when I have students, you always have to again rethink what were you doing, or what would you expect when you started, you know, and get yourself into this kind of bring yourself to this position again, or to this persona as of a beginner. So that's a thing, as you said as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably something I've changed the most in terms of the way that I teach, is really focusing down on like who my student is. So you kind of mentioned the black nail polish, right?
Yeah.
That can be analogous for like so many different things. Even just like the type of fashion, like what I'd wear is not always what I'd put my students in. Like just recently I had like a 52-year-old client, right? Like I'm not going to be putting him in like my streetwear and things like that. And even like the types of DHVs, the types of ways you're interacting with girls, I have it like very much now focused on the student and what I think is going to work best for their archetype. Now, obviously, you know, I don't like this idea of just being who you are, right? Like, I think you do need to change. There are some things, yeah, of course, so you have to change. But there is like fundamentally thinking like, what would be best for this client? And I think a lot of my teachings has moved a little bit more to really being like fundamental mindsets, because I understand that a lot of their behaviors and a lot of their, let's say, techniques are going to be born out of their mindsets. And so without getting too like woo-woo with fuck clients, it's like really for me about let's fundamentally fix all the mindsets that you have, and then let's work on the techniques. Because if you try to do techniques before mindsets, it's just always going to come back to like failure. It's always going to be like projected from the mindset they have. So that's probably like, now that I think about it a little deeper, it's probably the biggest change, I'd say.
Now we have questions from guys. I wrote down, not on a piece of paper, but on my phone. So as far as I can remember, the first question was how to handle group sets as a single guy during day game. I mean, when we talk about group sets, or when you read about group sets, it's always like somehow it's implicit that it's in ad game scenarios, you know, but nobody really talked about, or like how to handle like 4 girls during the day, you know. And I would like to have your take on this. How would you do it?
Yeah, so I think like day game is inherently a little bit different to night game when dealing with group sets, in the fact that logistical availability is probably going to be a lot worse. So what I mean by that is if you're approaching 4 girls during the day, the chance of you actually pulling one of those girls is going to be really low, because 4 girls, they're probably hanging out, right? They're probably going to dinner. They're probably going to like watch a movie. They're doing something, right? It's very rare that you're going to have 4 girls and then you approach and they're like, oh, we've just finished up our coffee. We're all leaving, right? So I think the first thing, and this is just like generally whenever you're dealing with like groups, and I think this is like the biggest mistake students make, is you need to address the group, okay? If you're just trying to talk to one girl and you're ignoring the friends, then you're going to get like, I don't even like the word cockblocked, because it's not even cock. This is normal social behavior. If I'm hanging out with my friends, like me, like Pat, if we're hanging out, we got a couple of boys, and someone else comes into the group, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is my friend Josh or some shit, right? It'd be really rude if me and Josh just had like a one-on-one conversation and I just turn my back to everyone, right? It'd be super rude. And so it's the exact same for girls. Like if you're approaching 4 girls and you're having like a one-on-one conversation, it's actually incredibly rude for that girl to do that. So any girl with any sense of like social normity is going to like tell you, hey, I got to stay with my friends, or the friends are going to like interrupt and be like, she's coming with us, right? So this is the first thing. Like I think too many guys instinctively are like, oh, I got fucking cock-blocked, man. These girls are bitches. Like, fuck it. It's like, no, this is not. So that's the first thing you just need to understand. This is normal. You got to address the group. And then I think the second biggest mistake guys make is they treat all the girls the same. So you need to really make it clear to the girls who you're going for. So that means you treat one girl flirtatiously and you treat the other girls like friends. You don't treat everyone like a friend. You don't treat anyone flirtatiously, because what happens here is the girls become jealous, they become unsure. They're not going to ruin friendships over you. So make it very clear. So go in, address the group. Number 2, pick your target, let them know. Simple statement of intent. Hey guys, your friend here, exactly my type. She looks amazing, right? Nice and simple.
Yeah. There are good points. I mean, to just how I would like, I'm always observing and screening before I approach, you know. When I see like 4 girls, as you said, like it's different to night game, because in night game, they reach their destination. They are in this venue. They're pretty much static there. But during the day, they move somewhere, they go somewhere. And I observe like how the group dynamic is, the energy level. Are they really heading with a pace, or are they just strolling around the city? Probably when I assume, okay, 4 girls, like it's kind of rare. Like that's why beginners start with day game, because you have like this one gazelle, you know, or maximum like 2 girls going shopping. And but 4 girls on a shopping trip is like, there might be tourists, I assume, or going on an event, you know, for a birthday maybe, or somebody's marrying, or whatever. but I assume there is, or the festival, but I assume they're going to an event, so it's hard to really drag one out, as you say, and pull that one girl. And when approaching as well, the groups, there are two ways, as you said as well. One way, you talk to the girl, your target. I hate the term, but to the main girl you have in focus, and then you have to quickly transition to the group, as you said as well, because otherwise you get these cock block scenarios. Or what is, I think, better is you right away approach the whole group, and the whole group, and here as well, like bring in a statement, open-end question, where you can, where everybody kind of is involved, everybody feels like validated at some point, because cock blocking, you get cock blocks from those typical girls who felt like neglected, felt like, neglected, didn't get any validation any kind of way, and they're like, okay, let's fuck it up for this young lad here as well. The thing is, when you bring in this statements and opening questions targeting the whole group, you get so many different conversational threads, and there's a misconception. Guys always think that by approaching a group set, you have to work more because it's like there are 4 girls. Actually, when it comes to the conversation, it's like the same invest and effort as you would do one-on-one with a girl, because you get these different conversational threads. They're discussing maybe with each other, and oh no, it's not true what the other girl says it is. You buy yourself time with that, and you take the best thread and continue where you can, I don't know, DHV the best, or which brings you the most farthest. On the other hand as well, sometimes when you have like a main girl in focus and you talk to her, and right away implicit, the flirtatious vibe, and she's like not really that much into you. On the other hand, maybe there is her friend who looks as same as her, like as well, good looks, same looks. Maybe at first you weren't even aware because you had this blonde girl in mind, but actually this brunette looking one is even hotter, or actually is more invests more, or is more into you, or is into you. Then of course, by hitting on one girl and already giving her the kind of flirtatious vibe, pretty much fucks it up for the other one who would have been actually into, or who would have been your girl kind of way. So that's why you screen as well when you approach a whole group. Okay, which one gives me the most back? Invests the most. And I mean, that's my take. I don't know how you see it.
I think you made a good point. A lot of guys see a 4 set as like really difficult, right? And there's a little bit more tension there for sure, right? So when you first start doing it, it might be a little bit more difficult. But once you get a little bit better at doing group sets, it's so much fucking easier, right? Because you go in, you have much more chance of one girl being compliant to you, and that's all you need, right? The other thing is, in terms of attraction, think about how confident you look when you approach one girl compared to 4, right?
Yeah.
If you just go and approach one girl, girls think, okay, you need this level of confidence to get here, right? Especially during the day when she knows you're sober and stuff. When you approach one girl, she's like, okay, that was pretty confident. I like that. Now, if you approach 4 girls, they think, okay, you need this level of confidence. So now it's like so much more attractive. And if you're approaching 4 girls being super loud, maybe in front of other people, like maybe in a cafe or some shit, now it's even higher.
Yeah.
So like just going in and approaching 4 girls, you now have so much more attraction than you otherwise would have. You have more chance of a girl being compliant to you, which you can use now to continue the conversation. As you said, like you asked a question, like, what do you guys do, right? You got 4 answers now. So it's a lot easier to work with. And so, the only problem with the 4 set is going to be logistics. So you have to screen, like, what are you guys up to right now? And look, if they are going to like watch a movie or some shit, you're just going to have to like build a little bit of attraction, number close your goal. And like, that's kind of what you have to do. Sometimes you will be lucky, right? You will be lucky. And sometimes they will say, oh, like we're leaving, or, we're just grabbing a coffee, then we're going. Then you can just join them, right? Or like take your goal. But most times when I see like a group set, most times my plan is going to be like, get in there, as you said, like pick a girl, build some attraction, DHV, and then like grab the number and try and like plan a fuck date from there.
Plan later. And as you said, there was another good point you mentioned, is you don't treat every girl the same way. You cannot be like flirtatious with all of them. And as well, on the other hand, that's why many guys fall into the trap of, oh, but what if her girlfriend, the fat one, thinks that I'm into her because I talk to her? No, it's not. If you give her flirtatious vibes, of course, but you should talk to her as she would be your sister, if you would talk to grandma or whatever. It's like, of course, you give a total different vibe there. And
guys fall into this trap too when it's, say, like 3 hot girls in the set, right? And you go over and you're not maybe used to getting this much attraction, but you've approached a group set now, so you will. And now like these 3 girls are kind of competing a little bit for you, and it feels and so what a lot of guys do is they'll now flirt with all 3 girls. And yeah, it's like validating. It feels nice. You feel like a boss, but now you fucked it up, because trying to like move this forward now is going to be super difficult if you're like 5-10 minutes in and you've showed like intent, or you're like flirting with every girl. Because yeah, again, like what's going to happen is the girls are either going to fight with each other, they're going to agree like just to fucking leave. One girl's going to get jealous. It's going to cause like cock blocking. So yeah, it is a trap. You have to show intent on one girl, be friendly with the others. Yeah. 100%.
Well, one time I had a specific occasion when there was a group of like German girls with guys hitting on them, like 5 guys or something. I went there and talked to, well, I think like 3 or 4 girls as well, but in the bar. And the fat girl, she was like, I know you don't find me attractive, and you're out for my friend, and I know I'm fat and I'm not attractive, but you know what? I appreciate you because you're the only guy who talked to me. Exactly. And you should get my girlfriend. You should be the lucky one. She told me you should be the lucky one who getting my girlfriend. And she helped me really. She was like a tank, like in the field, you know. Guys came. She rejected. No, go away. And the good 100%. Thing is, when you have a girl as your wing girl, it's better than any wingman, even better than a coach. I can tell you, because if there is some stress, like guys come in, nobody wants to start a fight with a girl because the girl gets the bounce of the guys out. The girl is always in favor. Yeah. On the other hand, if you have like, if you start a fight, like both are out, or if or you only, or whatever. So that's
and look, girls know, right? They're not stupid. Like girls know. If you're an unattractive girl and you're with a really hot girl, like they know what always happens. They know who you're going for. They just want some fucking respect. That's all it is. And the other thing is like, don't be afraid to show intent or sexualize to your girl in front of their like friends or less attractive girls. Don't be afraid to like, oh, but I don't want to like look too sexual in front of it. Fuck that, right? Like I will involve the friends in my sexualization, right? I will turn to the friend and be like, hey, listen, what type of guy do you reckon she likes? This is what type of guy I think she wants, like blah, blah. Like I kind of just involve the friends in this. And you're right, like they're not stupid. Like you can just let them know, like, hey, you're friendly, your friend, here's my type. Like there's going to be no unattractive girl sitting there that's going to be like, most of the time he's going to be like super pissed and annoyed that you haven't picked her. Like she knows what's up. She's not stupid. She just doesn't want to feel like neglected.
Another question we have: how to not feel nervous and being able to lead the conversation at all time. Now when I say like a typical questions, like these are the guys years in game or following pickup groups for years and still ask the most beginner questions kind of, and it's already what it kind of subconsciously amplifies to me when somebody says like how to lead a conversation or how to dominate or whatever. They lack this the mentality of a man. And here as well, what would be your take to I mean, there are two kind of things, like one's being nervous and to lead a conversation.
Yeah, it's kind of a very broad question. I think usually when guys ask this, it's often a product of like what I would call like escalation anxiety. It's often a problem of trying to ask for a little bit more compliance. It's trying to make the conversation sexual. It's basically putting yourself in a place where you might get rejected, right? That's usually what it is. So guys often don't have a problem with asking a question of like, what do you do from work, to like, hey, what music do you like, right? This doesn't feel like escalation or leading so much. And look, yeah, you can like run out of things to say. And again, like it's a product of like worrying about failure and being, trying to be perfectionist and having this big filter. But usually when I'm thinking about like going from A to B to C in the interaction, like moving it forward, usually you're putting yourself on the line here a little bit. So that moment where you might say, hey, listen, you're my type. That moment where you might say, hey, let's go get a drink at the bar, or like, let's go grab a coffee. That moment you might like try go for the pool, or I don't know, like physically escalate, like try and make out with her or something. That whole idea of like leading and moving it forward, if guys have trouble with this, it's often about like worrying about failure and, being rejected. So it goes back again, what we spoke about before, like the foundations of the mindsets of these guys. So I would actually ask them, like, in these moments where you have to move it forward, you have to lead, Like, what are you telling yourself? Like, what is the fear that you're facing? Like, what is it? And if it is like, I'm scared this girl's going to reject me, so I'm playing it safe, then you really need to start reshifting the way you're looking at rejection and like what that actually means. Because most of the time, like it's actually safer to escalate. If you just sit there like in this, what music do you like? Like the questions we kind of spoke about earlier, it's going to go nowhere. It's going to die 100%. Like if you're not moving it forward, it is 100% every single time going to die. You might feel good in the moment because maybe you like get her number or some shit and like there's no rejection there, but it's dead. It's not going anywhere unless you move it forward. So it's a matter of like practicing that. It's a matter of going through and adjusting these mindsets. It's a matter of realizing that it's not actually rejection when you're asking for more compliance. It's just a test is the way I like to think about it. So if I go from like chatting to her and then I show intent, hey, by the way, you're exactly my type. And then she like pulls back a little bit, or she's like, you're not really my type, or whatever she might say. This isn't failure for me right now. It's information. It's like, okay, I tried moving to like B or this much compliance. I didn't get it. So let's go back here and build it up. I'm going to try like create some attraction here. I'm going to try get over whatever the problem is, whatever the objection might be, and then move it forward. So seeing it, to summarize, like seeing it more objectively, less about yourself, less about rejection, and just practice those steps of like moving it forward, seeing what happens, being okay with the result, and doing that over and over again, you'll get rid of this like fear that you have of like moving it forward and leading the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, it's interesting because I somehow misunderstood or didn't interpret it that far as you already with having the fear of leading this conversation. So for me, it was like more, okay, maybe this guy is struggling at all to kind of hold the conversation because he wrote like he's nervous. And but I don't know, like maybe you were like more what he wanted to hear or what his question actually was, because guys not really give that much specific questions as well to really get specific answers. So
that's what I mean. Like it's a tough.
Like,
sorry, go on. Yeah, I was going to say it's a tough question to answer because it's like, is it just like I'm running out of things to say, right? Is it like,
because this was my take, I didn't take it that far even. I was like, okay, maybe
cool. So what do you think for guys that are like just running out of things to say? What advice would you give them? I
mean, for me, it would be the first thing, like have topics kind of in your head, like to talk about, what are topics every girl can talk about or feels comfortable to talk about. I mean, I'm not going for topics kind of makeup and stuff, because you as a guy don't have anything to add on this. It's the same if you would ask girls, for example, about football. So the thing is, my 3 topics to go for would be traveling. I always suggest guys traveling, for example. Every girl loves to travel. Every girl wants to have a guy or boyfriend who loves to travel because traveling amplifies spontaneity, spontaneous person. He's like free and he's like, maybe a little bit rebellious. So traveling is a good point. Traveling, you can DHV so much with that topic. Next one is food, for example. Every girl likes to talk about food and different kind of cuisines and shit like that. And those maybe the third one, like what I personally liked is always like star signs. I like that shit. That was my stuff. I mean, many guys who are not into it, okay, I kind of understand.
Pat, sorry, I have a very important question for you.
Yeah.
What star sign are you?
Capricorn.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, that's
that's a good open loop here.
You seem you give me Capricorn energy. I'm not gonna lie. It's okay. Yeah, I would have guessed that actually. I agree. I think having some topics, going back to the sheet of paper of like questions, but I think for a lot, I think if I gave guys $1 million and said, if you talk to this girl for the next 30 minutes without pauses, I will give you this $1 million. I think every single guy can do it. I don't think they'd ever run out of things to say, right? It's the biggest problem. And I think like a lot of guys know,
I think.
It's the filtering, right? A lot of guys, maybe they go to ask food and they're like, oh, fuck, but like, is this the right transition? Like, how do I ask about food? Should I talk about travel? Oh, but I haven't really traveled too many places lately. What if she traveled more than me? How do I bring this up? And it's like they filter so fucking hard. So I think like in the beginning, you need to find that balance. Like if you're in a situation where you're running out of things to say, you just have too big of a filter. Okay. Now you lower that filter. Yeah, you might talk about the wrong things. Okay. Maybe you fucking, I don't know. I look over and see an iron. Maybe I talk about like ironing clothes or some shit and it's boring as fuck. But at the beginning, I talk about whatever the fuck you want. try make it interesting with your subcoms. And then over time, you start to like narrow that down. So we get into the better topics like relationships, food, travel, like DHVs, like adding the right frames. But I think for a lot of guys, it's just like that perfectionist pressure, right? It's okay.
Yeah.
Just like take that pressure off, talk about whatever, talk about star signs, whatever the fuck you want. Talk about football, right? But just talk about enthusiastically with some passion is going to be better than saying nothing. And then like have that filter going down. And I think like, as you mentioned, the better topics that lead to like more attraction.
I think sooner or later she will have, she will add something to it where you can like take this and go farther with it. But the thing is, like, guys don't really active listening. They are really suck at active listening, and they always think about, okay, what should I say next? What should I say next? And they don't listen at all what the girl has to say, you know. And there, it's hard for them to find any commonalities or build any connection, whatever, because they always think about, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? Instead of like actively listen to the girl. Maybe she says, for example, oh, I was in Italy as well and ate traditional pizza. For example, if you have no fucking clue, as you said, you don't travel that much, you don't have that much clue, or it goes too fast for you, then what I would suggest is a technique called parroting, which is, and it was shown in the movie, if you know the movie Crazy Stupid Love with Ryan Gosling.
I haven't seen it, but I know the one you're talking about.
Actually, there's that guy, his character, what he's doing is all the time parroting, like, he's doing fucking extreme, like really over the top. But what it means is when the girl says, "Oh, I was in Rome and eat the best traditional pizza there," or whatever, or I like Italian pizza, you were taking the word or one or two words and you throw it back to her. You repeat it again. For example, if she says, "Oh, I was in Rome with my friends." Rome? Yeah, blah blah. And this amplifies to her. Oh, you're really interested. You're really curious. You know, it's simple as that. Or you can just say traditional pizza. You know, sometimes when I was just pulling, I was sitting in the car. When I had a car, I was driving. I cannot drive and talk at the same time somewhere. You know, it doesn't work. So I put on the music and just she talks. And when she was talking, it was like I always did this technique. You know, with like wine, yeah, blah blah. Oh, really? You know, instead of like saying, "Oh, really," or "cool," or "perfect," you just repeat again the phrase or the word. That's really good.
It sounds, guys listening to this, like it sounds so simple and maybe even stupid, but it's very effective. So it's called like active listening, parroting, mirroring is another word for it, but it works surprisingly well. And it gives you time, right? So if she's your example, right? I went to Rome and I really like the pizza there or some shit, right? So then you just parrot that back or you mirror that back. Oh, you really like the pizza. She's like, yeah, da da da. Now it gives you time to actually think. Because as you said, a lot of guys are like cutting girls off. She's like, I went to Rome and they're like, and what do you do for work? They're like going to the next question. It's like exhaust the thread. Okay. If you're going to talk about Rome and travel and food, exhaust that thread as much as you can. Parrot it, talk about your own stories, bring it back. Then once it's like silent and you've exhausted that whole topic, then go to the next one. Because then guys are so quick to like try get through their questions, try get through their routine. And you're right, it just sounds like the guys aren't listening, right? And girls notice that. That's the feedback they give. They're just like, oh, there's no chemistry. It doesn't feel like we connected at all. Like what they're really saying most of the time is you're just not fucking listening, right? Like that, as simple as that. So that's it's difficult, I know, for guys that are like running out of things to say, worried about what they're saying, and then having to worry about like listening at the same time. I think once you get to that point of you've taken the pressure off, you can say whatever the fuck you want. It's flowing a little bit more. Now get back into that like parroting mode that you spoke about. I think it would be like, very helpful. And it's like, it's so simple, right? It's so simple. Just a little practice, you'll get good at it.
It's the easiest thing as well, especially when it's like a late night pool. You don't have any energy anymore to keep on with the conversation you're about to pull, and you just say some shit back. It's like, oh, Brazil? Oh, this? Yeah. Oh, blah, 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 whatever.
Just talk. Yeah,
and she just talks. And at the end of the day, she says, wow, I had the best conversation ever with that guy. I felt such we have a good connection. And what did you do basically? You just basically took the fucking phrases and words and threw it back to her. That's it. She did most of the talk. Effective. And it's psychologically, this is like every person loves to talk about himself or herself. And that's the best thing you can do. Make her talk, you know?
That works really well. Yeah.
So another question, what is your take, as it's really like getting popular now with the Passport Bros movement?
Yeah, I guess it depends. what's meant by like a passport bro, because I think there needs to be like a clear distinction. So for myself, I don't think there's a problem if you have a specific type of girl to try find where that girl's going to be. Now, this could be on like a micro level. Like if you want like a party fun girl that's like into techno music, then maybe go to like a techno club. If you like a girl that's like a little bit introverted, maybe is intellectual, like likes literature, maybe go to like a book club, right? If you like a girl that's really fit, maybe try like go to some yoga classes and meet girls there. And I think you can apply this on a more macro level, right? Now, Swedish girls, okay, very attractive, very open-minded, almost like no slut shaming whatsoever. So I love going to Sweden for that reason. Eastern European girls, they're a little bit more conservative, again, like super good looking, tend to be more like lifestyle submissive and sexually submissive. I really like that. So I like going to places like where I am right now, Poland. American girls like really witty and a bit, how do I say this? Smart asses, right? And we have more like similarities in culture. So it's like easy to get along with on those topics. So like I like girls from there. So if you're a guy, for example, that likes a more Polish or Ukrainian style girl, I don't think there's a problem going from somewhere like America to Poland, or not Ukraine right now, but you get my point. Yeah. Going to like an Eastern European country and trying to like meet a girl from there that you might get along with on a better level. Now, that's very different from now being a guy that just sucks with women. You're miserable. Exactly, you can't find anyone, and you're thinking, okay, I can't get any Western girls. Maybe I'll go to Asia, or maybe I'll go to like fucking Poland, and I'll try find a girl. And what you'll tend to find happens is you'll go there and you're usually, like, to be honest, your passport and money isn't enough for most girls. And so what you have to do is now try find a girl that's like desperately in need of like financial stability, or is like desperately in need for like a new life. And now you are just plainly offering them your passport and money. And like here, I'm a bit mixed, like morally speaking, because I guess like if you have two consenting adults and he's like, yo, I can get you a visa and I'll pay for your shit. And she's like, okay, I want a visa, I'll pay for you. Like, that's cool. And but it does feel like, number one, I feel like the girl is kind of getting maybe exploited here a little bit. But number two, I think the guy is, right? Yeah. This might be a unique take, but I think as a coach of men, like when I see these passport bros, I don't think it's good for them, because what's going to happen, right? Some girl is, you might think she doesn't, right? You're going to be put in a situation when once she gets what she wants, what's she going to do now, right? When she's got her visa, when she's got her money, like she's probably just going to like divorce you or bounce. Or you're in a relationship where you're probably going to, if you've had no experience with women, you have to rely on like going to Eastern Europe to try find one, then you're probably going to get used in this relationship. You're probably going to get walked all over. So I think if you're that type of passport bro, and it's gonna be a horrible existence for you after you try to make this happen. So I just am not an advocate for it whatsoever. But I am in defense of guys that are like fucking 30 years old and just want to like go to a certain country because they like girls from there, right? I don't think there's an issue with that.
I think it depends, as you said. It depends, but of course I get the fundamentals as well, what their thoughts are. But on the other hand, I mean, and I know many men personally who did this or who are doing it. So I think my take on this can be more deeper and more detailed, from much more knowledge than usual YouTubers speaking about it nowadays. And the thing is, for me, the guys I know, it's mixed, because some very, very few of them are this high value guys somehow in their own country. Most of them are not. That's why they are like, that's why they coming with the excuse of, oh, here are like feminists, and now it's COVID, now it's war, and they always try to find some excuses why they suck with women, basically. And then like, oh, I'm going there because there the women are different, there the women are traditional and feminine, whatever. And what you're saying, what you're basically saying actually is that you want somebody who kind of follows you or sees you as a high value man. Women or girls in your country are not, So you basically you're lacking these things, and that's why you're going abroad to find kind of love or basically a woman who looks up to you, because nobody else in your kind of hierarchy in your own country, you're very kind of settled very low, And that's what I think.
Where are these guys going? Like the ones that you
I mean, it
personally
was
know?
it was popular like 30 years ago with the fall of the Iron Curtain to go to Eastern Europe, as you said. Then like 20 years ago, more like Southeast Asia. Now it's like as well Caribbeans or South America. It depends, you know. And of course, like you will find and kind of women in their miseries in third world countries. I don't want to go specifically in which country because I don't want to like but
This is
third
the
world
guide
countries.
to passport bros, okay?
Yeah.
We're telling you where to go to find the right women. Yeah, and look, the funny thing is, it's probably not as easy as guys think. I think like people listening to this is like, oh, passport bros, they just go to like one of these countries, they show they're American and they get all these girls after them. I don't even think it's that simple, right? Because you know, I have students that like travel all over the world. I've traveled all over. And yeah, like certain places you will get more value based on certain things, right? But even like we mentioned Eastern Europe, you need to be like really dominant if you want girls to actually be attracted to you, right? Yeah, they might see that you're American, whatever, be like, oh, that's really cool. But in a place like, you know, Warsaw, unless you go to some village, enough. South America might be a little bit different. I have less experience there. But yeah, it's you still require game, right? Unless you are just like selling your fucking passport at that point, and like the girl has
I mean, in
zero
Eastern Europe,
attraction
it
for you
worked like
whatsoever.
30 years ago. It worked 30 years ago, but now you cannot lead with your wallet anymore. You know, it's like,
yeah.
And that's why they escaped into poorer countries, more poor countries. And the thing is as well, you find the girl in her misery. She wants to basically leave and get to kind of Hollywood for them. For them, it's like Hollywood. You get to know the culture a bit more and the social norms in that country, etc., etc. Her mind and her eyes will open up, and she will, oh, my guy or my husband is not that high value guy. He was, I saw that he is, or the one he basically like, he showed me, and they will think, oh, he's actually kind of low standard in his own country. He was a high value guy in my country, of course, but here they are like, oh, and then they fight for divorce, you know, if you're because
100%.
On the other hand,
you're not going to get a lasting, loving relationship if you've like fucking isolated some girl from a family, her country, brought her here based on that. Like as soon as she has her independence, like you need to ask, why would she stay, right? If you're just exchanging passport for girl, now she has passport, why would the fuck would she stay? And it's funny because like you see that in America, right? Like when I game in America, like you meet girls that will tell you like, oh yeah, I've got a husband. And I'm like, oh, you have a husband? She's like been flirting with me for the last hour. Like, what the fuck? She's like, oh yeah, but it doesn't count. Like I just used him to get here type thing. And it's crazy. Like these girls aren't staying loyal to these guys. So like if you are actually looking for like love or like a, you know, romantic relationship, then look, you're better off just fucking paying a hooker in your own country, right? If you're just looking for like a girl or sex, just do that. Otherwise, get better game, right? That's
I mean, yeah, exactly. Get game. That's the only take I have on this one. And there are as well guys, and I know personally guys who are, what they are doing, of course, that the girl won't see kind of who they are or kind of adapt to the Western culture, is they isolate her. They keep her they are not allowed to work. He rather spoils her with money, but she's not allowed to kind of work, not allowed to really have other friends or many friends at all. She's kind of isolated in that country, so she will always depend on the guy. She's not allowed to or in this way this way she never will speak the language of the country, so she always depends on him fully, you know. And that's what those guys like, because they are like a god. They want to be seen like as a god, you know, like, and she's always depending, so she will never leave. And now there is another extreme now with the guy saying, oh, okay, but if this happens, if she files for divorce, whatever, why I'm not going there and living, I don't know, in a third world country? Yeah, and the thing is, if you go there and the girl will like think there must be something wrong with those kind of guys coming from first world, basically settling down in a third world country, the girls will think like, what is wrong with this guy somehow, you know, like, why doesn't like it here, or then it must be criminal or something is in the bushes, you know, but it's strange.
I'd be super curious to see success stories of passport bros. I just have never seen one. I've never seen a guy be like, yeah, I sucked with women. I went to this country. I led with my passport of money. And now I'm happily married in this amazing relationship. It just doesn't work. So
I think we have still some minutes left. What I would go into, and this is some fucking bonus, and I saw whatever talked about that. Some real advanced shit is, let's go to Dark Triads. I thought about like talking about that, not always like the same. Somewhat dried out questions of, hey, what are you doing here in this situation? What are you doing there? But some really advanced shit,
Yeah, when I think of like dark triad traits, I guess like really what I think about teaching is what, this is a difficult topic to explain, but what everyone listening might consider as like manipulation, I think is important to teach, but it's more like benevolent manipulation. It's how do I control the girl's emotions in such a way that is going to benefit our relationship or able to move our interaction forward. So technically, I mean, if you're looking up literature on like dark triad traits, this is not technically like what I'm after. You don't actually want to come from a place where you're trying to be like negatively intentful, where you want like a negative outcome for the girl per se. But obviously, like if you're looking at it from like a more broader angle, then like being able to manipulate the situation in the way that you want is going to be like very beneficial. So a lot of times in our courses and like in our event stuff that we teach, we are teaching like, let's say influence. Influence is probably a better way to describe it. And I don't know how much you want to get into now in the last minutes we have, but I think that is actually super important.
The thing is, wait, I think, no, I'm still here, but I don't know why my camera is so fucking dark now. The Dark Triads, now it fits.
That's it, man. It hurt.
The thing is, as you say, it starts. It's like I don't teach it personally because I know guys won't. The usual, typical like London day gamer type of guy, he doesn't get that far. He doesn't get it. He thinks like there are some lines I will say, and now wow, I'm using Dark Triads to manipulate her. Actually, there was a question by a guy. But I think that guy as well, in particular, or guys asking those things, say, oh, now I want to try it out. They're not on that level yet. This is something really, and it can be really dangerous as well. Like you can really fuck up girls emotionally really hard. So it's not for the typical like beginner guy who doesn't understand the basics or not even the fundamentals, And it's like then going on and shifting to the extreme of basically what it is, it's, I wouldn't call it really like even manipulating. Of course, if you use it only to your advance, then, but it's actually, as you said, like creating deeper connection real quick, actually. Connection real quick. And how to create it is, as we said, active listening. What majority of guys don't do is actively listening to the girl. Because if you actively listen to the girl, she will come up with her past, her stories, and you can kind of filter out some emotional triggers, like and dive deeper into them. So she really gets the trust and really opens up her kind of about her past and negative as well, positive emotions, creating a roller coaster. And then basically what you're doing, and I'm basically giving here a guide, but I don't want to get that much into details, but you're basically setting anchors. So you take those emotions, and every time, and there are different ones. There is physical touch, for example. There is environmental anchors, sensory anchors, symbols or things, or verbals. And every time when she thinks about that, she will automatically think about you. What's the easiest thing, like guys may not understand, is what's the easiest thing is, for example, when she says, oh, this perfume or this smell remembers of my ex-boyfriend. She doesn't know the name of the perfume, but the smell it created, like he set this anchor over time. So this was she's associating it with her boyfriend or with a feeling and stuff. So
it's 100%. That's probably like the most common one, right? Which is the whole like sense of smell. But there's a lot of other anchors you can I was going to say introduce into a girl, insert it into it. But it's a good representation of one of them for sure. And I think for most guys, it's going to be about like learning to crawl before you can walk, before you can run. And it's like sometimes I get questions like in the mastermind that we have, which is like guys being like, so how do you set up threesomes? But I'm like, hang on, man, you were asking about like AA the other day. What are you talking about? And he's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I know.
what? And it's like, okay, a lot of these are just like theoretical masturbation. So it's like, once you get to a point where you're like building attraction more frequently, where you're pulling more frequently, when you're like having like relationship dynamics, this is where you can start thinking about, okay, what's all this advanced shit? How do I set the right frames? Like, how do I get a hook more emotionally? Like, that is where you should start diving deeper into it. But yeah, I agree. Like, for a lot of guys, it's going to be like focusing on like the fundamentals at first.
I used it personally on many girls that I did the craziest things with it. Like, I had a girl, like, I saw her twice only, and she was she was a singer. She recorded a song about like me, which was about me, and put it on YouTube and stuff. And wrote like, yeah, the song I wrote for you and stuff. You fucked my brain. So it's like it creates really, really strong emotions towards you, like Oktoberman sequence. You know, like back in the old school days, those kind of like manipulating tactics. But guys like to jump pages in the book, and it's not required for it's not required at all to like. If your goal is to get laid, you know, it's like here and there getting laid. It's not really something you need, you know.
Yeah, it's all about return on investment, right? Like,
and I think
want to like speak up and hold eye contact, right? So yeah, it's gonna be like return on investment. Yeah, no, man, thanks for having me on. It's been a fun chat. If any guys want to find out more about my stuff, Ultimate Man Project, you can find on YouTube. We have a Facebook group as well. So
yeah, I will tag you. I will tag you. Yeah, I will tag your channel.
No, it's
okay,
been
man.
fun
Cheers.
chat. Thank you.